Welcome back, everybody, to Jack Hawthorne's Cedar Lake Zoo. After our little journey into Africa, we're back toward the entrance, and you can see we've got a big expansion over to the right of the entrance. It is our brand new aquarium complex, and also a kind of separate aquarium as well. It's kind of funny how that panned out. As we'll see pretty soon here, it's interesting that the whole first part of the zoo here ended up being kind of an islands and coast section. Because over here we have Sumatra, we have southern cassowary and dholes, we've got Madagascar, Galapagos tortoise, sea lions, and then all the stuff that we're going to be seeing today. So we're going to start over here with our aquarium. It doesn't have a name yet because I've been naming it after a lot of my close friends, but have not yet given this one a name. I'm still kind of thinking about it. But we'll start out here. So the first thing that you'll get to when you come to the aquarium is the sea otter enclosure. And oh, they're right there. That's awesome. I love the sea otter mod. I don't know why I'm getting stuck here. Let me pull out. Oh, they're so cute. I love how blue the water is and the kelp coming up. Ah. Well, that wouldn't happen to a guest, so we're going to try to just ignore that. So you've got this little elevated viewing for them. And then before you enter the aquarium, you have this little view where you can kind of see them at eye level. You wouldn't really be looking here for seeing them diving, but they could come up and swim right by you and see the people well here. I know in the past I've had interactions with specifically North American river otters. Well, they'll come right up to the glass. Like this guy seems to maybe be doing. Oh, look at that one rolling around. That's hilarious. Oh, it'd be so cool to have like an actual sea otter given to us by Frontier, but I don't know if that's going to happen at this point. Continuing a little bit of the theming here from the California sea lion enclosure, just because these would be kind of from the same area, or the same ecosystem at least. So what I actually had to do to make all of this work is to build it in parts. So we're going to enter in here, and I'm going to cut, and you're going to meet me in there. Hopefully that wasn't too bad of a jump. It's the struggles of working in different maps for inside and outside of a building. But here we have our first enclosure of the inside of the aquarium, moon jellies. Moon jellies are beautiful creatures, pretty bioluminescent, and when they're in enclosures, they have to circulate the water through in a circle so that these things flow correctly. It helps them live. It's actually really fascinating, and that's why you see a lot of moon jelly enclosures will be in the shape of a circle. But here, I've seen a lot that are just kind of like this, that it's a longer thing that still has that circular motion in it. Through here, we've got our main reef tank for our schooling fish. Got stuff like foxface rabbitfish, copperband butterflyfish, royal blue tang, Moorish idol, longfin bannerfish, tricolor parrotfish, all sorts of stuff, yellow tang. Right now, the Aquaria pack is kind of hard to use because it was built with the intention to use it with the scaling tool. So a lot of the coral is actually very small, which makes it kind of a pain to put a lot of it down and make it feel like a reef. Which is why throughout this place you'll see some like workshop base game coral packs that I've used throughout here to give it a little bit more life. Over here we have a touch pool. Different kinds of sea stars, urchins, and little minnows. I want to say sheep's head minnows. These are actually the model for the Japanese rice fish, but when I went to the Wonders of Wildlife Aquarium in Springfield, Missouri, they had these little tiny minnows with the rest of their touch tank stuff, and I think that's a really cool idea just to give some more movement and interest. And this would be a little door for a staff member to come into this other side. One thing that you might see in here that's kind of unfortunate is the faux rock pack. If you use a lot of it sometimes, or just a lot of mods in general, sorry about that, a lot of mods in general, sometimes it'll kind of like pop the textures out. This happens a lot more with like older mods too, where some of them will be perfectly fine, and then others of them will be like, there's too much going on, I cannot give you the full texture, which is really disappointing. But I still think it looks pretty good. And then over here, we have our Nemos, a little clownfish tank with some powder blue tangs, and these anemones made by, I think, Lobbery, that look quite nice, made out of the little gutter pieces from the conservation pack. I think that's hilarious. As well, I think he may have made these too. But I used a lot of different coral packs on the workshop. This is kind of an aquatic predator thing. So I've got moray eels in here, triggerfish, grouper, stuff like that. And this shipwreck was actually one of the Frontier base game mods that came with the Oceania Pack DLC, the preloaded things that they have. And usually they're just kind of fine, but not stuff I'd usually put in my zoos. But here, I think that this just looks fantastic and works really well for what I'm going for. Kind of educating on the fact that a lot of times when ships fall into the ocean, they become homes for coral reefs, and the coral reefs build upon them. Through here, we've got some of Drax's seahorses and then some spotted garden eels in the ground there too. A more subdued enclosure, but I think that this is just kind of nice. And then in here, we've got horseshoe crabs and lobster. I think this is Caribbean spiny lobster. Most of this place is Pacific stuff, but these things are Atlantic. This would not have been the original enclosure for these things. Originally, this was for Japanese spider crab, but as I added on to here, I found a much better place for them that I like a lot, and so I had to fill this tank. And it's kind of more barren, but I think that it works for what's in here. And then turn the corner, and over here we have sea nettles. So over here would be South American sea nettle, and this would be South African sea nettle, I think. Maybe one of them is Pacific. I haven't really decided. I have this whole long spreadsheet of all the different creatures that I have at Cedar Lake Zoo. What am I doing? I don't have the music on in the background. But I love working with this mod from the Aquaria pack because it just is so pretty. Oh, these little Aquaria signs kind of pop in and out. Whoops. Over here we have a leafy sea dragon enclosure. These are really cool because they actually like move around. I think these are based off the diamondback terrapin. So right now with the taxidermy mod beta, only base game and DLC species work for the habitat animal taxidermies. But for whatever reason, the taxidermy for the exhibit animals work with modded creatures. And so I get to build this lovely sea dragon enclosure for these things that technically shouldn't even exist. And I just love watching them go around. I highly recommend that you get this mod, even just to have it in the exhibit box, because they're beautiful creatures. And then over here we have a little peacock mantis shrimp, the only guy in this enclosure because they are small but very mighty and very aggressive. And then over here we've got our octopus enclosure. One thing I love about a lot of octopus enclosures in actual aquariums is they do this tube thing, connecting two different tanks to show how the octopus can actually squeeze through these tiny, tiny spaces. But for right now, he's just stuck to the glass. And then comes one of my favorite parts of the whole aquarium. You can see some of it a little already, but you go through the jaws of the Megalodon, and we're in a shark tunnel. So I tried to get music to work in here, but apparently music doesn't work underwater in Planet Zoo. So in here, this is based a lot off of Omaha and some other aquariums like it. Got all sorts of different species of sharks and then fish going along with it through this tunnel. And in here we've got 4 species of shark. We've got sandbar sharks, blacktip reef sharks, zebra sharks, not nurse sharks, and sand tiger sharks. But because the sand tiger shark mod did not want to come into the water, I had to just use the Aquaria prop in here. But there's a couple of them around. And then we've also got some giant groupers in here, doing what giant groupers do, which is just rest on the bottom. Oh, it's just so cool seeing these go by. Especially because sometimes you can see their shadows going along the top of the glass. And for being something that's like not accounted for at all in the game's functioning, the fact that these are built on the crocodile and still look this good is just so mind-blowing to me. They move like actual sharks. We've also got some, I think, permits standing in for something like Crevalle Jack, and then White Grouper are in here too. Oh, it's like they're actually schooling. That's awesome. Got some smaller fish in here too, just to kind of give a little bit more visual interest. But I wasn't about to like use the actual tiny fish mods because they'd probably just stay in places where you couldn't see them. There's another giant grouper. Hello, sir. And then in here we've got a little bit of a cold water section that might not be done. I don't have plans for this area right here, but could easily put a tank. So here we've got, for right now, Atlantic cod. I've been thinking about maybe replacing this with a rockfish exhibit, because those are really cool and would fit into the area. But we have another look at the shark reef. The animals could not come over here, but this is the same exhibit, and so I had to kind of act like this is a little diorama, putting a grouper and some sharks here. And then this is where the spider crabs move to. This is a whale fall enclosure. So one of the cool things I've learned over time is that there's an actual ecosystem in the ocean called a whale fall, which is when a whale dies and its body falls to the seafloor. The things at the seafloor pick it apart, and it sustains like a whole ecosystem, and stuff starts growing on it and whatever. So this is for Japanese spider crab and giant isopod, and I think that it just is a really cool idea. One thing I recommend for anybody who wants to build aquarium stuff is to make the back of your enclosures the double-sided glass, but with it set to have the one-way glass, but with the non-opaque, or with the one that you can't see through, put that towards you, because it really adds to the whole like depth in the background. The way that the light hits it is really cool. And so then we are done with the main portion of the aquarium, to which we enter our penguin hall. So this is based highly off of St. Louis Zoo's penguin house, where they have the ability to go underneath you. They have a bit more underwater view than I'm giving, but at St. Louis, most of the penguins just stay on the shore. They have complete access to the water, but decide to remain up here. So in here we have 3 species of penguin. We've got king penguin, Gentoo penguin, and rockhopper penguin. And the rockhoppers, I feel like, spend most of their time in the water. There's a rockhopper, I think. I can't tell. They're cool animals, though. So we've got like some astroturf here, and also these little rubber pads, because penguins have this thing called a disease called bumblefoot that they can get, where if they're standing on uneven surfaces or something like that, it can really screw up their feet and make their rest of their lives uncomfortable. And so zoos will often do stuff like this to give them a bit of a break for their feet to stand on and whatever. Instead of just being on wet rock the whole time. I don't know how that really works out for them in the wild, just because I imagine it's difficult to find smooth surfaces in some parts of where they would go. But, you know, snow in some parts would probably help out with that too. And so now we exit the aquarium. Got a little jellyfish display up there. And so hopefully you enjoyed your little jaunt into the aquarium right there. Coming out here, we get to see our little blue penguin enclosure. Originally, I had these planned for my Australia section, but playing around, I sort of accidentally got the shape of the Sydney Opera House on top of the aquarium. Those were supposed to be icebergs since we were just in the Penguin Hall, but Wyatt Andrews' workshop on Bronation pointed out that it kind of looked like the Opera House and was like, you better put fairy penguins outside. And so I was like, that is such a great idea that I have to change my plans now. So they're here, and you can come right up and see them, but you're not supposed to touch them, of course. I think we've got like 10 to 12 in here. I love these little guys. It's so fun that we actually got these as an official animal. Seeing them at Louisville was such a fun time because they're so small, but they also like have just kind of, they sound like ducks, at least to me. So they're really cute. And over here is where we actually have our underwater viewing for our sea otters, which who knows if they'll actually give us anything as far as that goes. They were zipping around yesterday when I was building this, but having a little bit of trouble there staying on the rocks, I guess. I love how slick they look when they come out of the water. But I really like how this came out, and paying attention to the levels, I think, really assisted how this came out. So that is the aquarium, from which we'll backtrack a little bit. You'd probably do this first, but I wanted to show you the aquarium so that this would be kind of a cool way to end. For those of you who might not know this about me, which is most of you, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan, and so I had this idea of having a little Margaritaville themed area in my zoo, where Jack Hawthorne, the owner of the zoo, and Jimmy Buffett, during his time on this earth, may he rest in peace, would have been really good friends in my mind. And so this exhibit was made a couple years ago before Jimmy died, kind of giving this whole beach vibe in the zoo, and I really love how it turned out. This would be your average zoo stingray touch tank. I think it's just Kauno's raisin here, but there might be a southern, yeah, I think that's a southern stingray or two. Then you got some macaws on a stick, because what would Margaritaville be without a macaw or two? You have sinks out here that I got from the workshop that would be for washing your hands, and then there's a little display back here of some surfboards. You probably have like a keeper here ready to answer questions about the stingrays. And I just love how this turned out. This was originally, I believe, an aviary blueprint I got from the workshop, but I replaced it with glass because I really wanted this to be the shape of the Stingray Bay? Yes, Stingray Bay. And I love how the sign turned out for it. Over here we have Caribbean flamingos, and for some reason they keep getting stuck in the back. There's a lot of them, I assure you, but I think they keep trying to escape or something. So I got a decent view of the aquarium and the sea otter exhibit from the flamingo exhibit, and over here is kind of the chief part of this exhibit, the Margaritaville Caribbean Coast building. I think you might have an idea of what's going to be in here. So let's take a look. For copyright reasons, we're not playing it, but this would be blasting instrumental versions, of course, of Jimmy Buffett music. We don't want to have, you know, all the references to alcohol in a family-friendly place, but this is our manatee building. So, got a couple rescued sea turtles, Atlantic spadefish, permits, and manatees. I really love how this turned out. A lot of this is based on Columbus's exhibit for manatees, but I really wanted to give it more of a coastal vibe rather than this kind of swampy vibe that they have, and I wanted to give it a little bit more theming, so I found some beach boardwalk on the workshop and fused it into the background. I've got some beach billboards on the wall to kind of give the vibe, and one thing I like very much is obviously this would be a experience that not everybody would be able to do. You'd have to get approval for it first, but you'd be able to actually come up here and with a keeper feed the manatees. So you've got some lettuce right here, and you probably wouldn't be able to touch them, but you could at least feed the manatees, and I thought that would be a really cool idea. I really want to emphasize like different ways for guests to interact safely with animals in the zoo. So like over into the wilds of Africa, there's the giraffe feeding and things like that, and you'd have manatee feeding here too. Oh, I wish they could be just a little bit slower because they look so cool, but they just go so fast. But this is like really the first time that I've built for manatees, and I really love how it turned out with all the seagrass at the bottom and the rock work on the back. I love manatees. Part of that probably comes from the fact that elephants are my favorite animal, and they're kind of like water elephants. But I really love how this exhibit here turned out. I think that it's really cute and came together quite well. And so this was something that I've built kind of over the past couple of months in parts. The aquarium more recently after Wilds of Africa was built, but the Caribbean coast is maybe a month or two old at this point. But when I did the last episode where it was the sea lions and stuff like that, I didn't want to blow everything all at once, so I wanted to save this for you guys for later. Because in the back we've still got the Sumatra Dome, and North America's over there, and Asian highlands and Australia and things like that are over this way. But those have barely been started yet, so we'll see how long it takes to get to the next episode. But I just kind of wanted to take you through here and show you what I've been working on, because this part is really exciting to me. So thanks for coming, and I hope to see you guys soon.